Welcome to a tutorial on finding and using. Today we're going to cover the basics of where to find data and what to do with it when you have it. You'll be ready to research like a pro, and as always, cite and attribute to your sources. It becomes sort of a buzzword. We know that it's desirable and that in the workplace we should make data-driven decisions. But we don't always know exactly what we mean by data, how we get it, and how to analyze it in a way that makes it meaningful. Most importantly, we want to learn how to be skeptical when we hear this word. Data and statistics are used to persuade, and by better understanding the underlying principles of how data is collected and analyzed, you can make more informed decisions. Data is information in its most pure form before we analyze it and interpret it. For instance, if the National Institutes of Health conducts a survey and asks participants to respond to a set of questions about their lifestyle and their heart health, the responses to the survey are data. These responses might be collected with software that sorts the responses for the researcher or organized in an Excel spreadsheet or other file. Otherwise, there's just a big pile of information, and it isn't very useful until we sort it all out. Imagine if you tossed all of your utensils into the silverware drawer without sorting them. If you only have a few utensils, it might not be a hassle, but the more you have, the more important it will be that you stay organized. It would be the same if with a very large survey conducted like a big government agency like the NIH. Until the responses are sorted, they can't help us make decisions based on the information they provide. We need to collect new data constantly to learn new things about what's going on around us. We might be tracking trends over time by seeing how those survey responses change if the same people respond again a few years later. We can analyze that data and see if the responses about the lifestyles and heart health have patterns that can add to medical knowledge. We can see relationships between things that are happening that we might not notice otherwise, like temperatures in a certain part of the world or population changes in an endangered species. Also, we need to see data that's being collected in our field or field of study or our profession to know what questions have been asked, which ones haven't, and even which questions no one has yet thought to ask. We often confuse data with a statistic, and they are related. A statistic is a quick fact or number that is taken from this information you've collected and analyzed. These are often helpful for demonstrating that your research is meaningful or explaining its implications to others. Surveys are just one way to collect data. If you'd like to save time and reach a large number of people, you might use a survey tool called Qualtrics that is available to you with your Webster enrollment and can be found in Connections. This will do a lot of work for you, and you can easily create charts and graphs from your results that allow you to choose from a wide range of options for ways to ask your questions and find the best ways for participants to respond. Keep in mind, there is a science and an art to asking the right questions and giving people a way to respond that is clear and measurable. We could make an entire class on that and still not cover everything. So we can't do more than touch on it in a short video. In a moment, I'll show you some options for exploring some of the topics that we're covering today. And likewise, ensuring the numbers you get aren't misleading and that you aren't using them in a misleading way are very important to this broad topic of data that we're covering. One foundation of understanding what type of data you need that will dictate how you collect the data is knowing when to collect qualitative or quantitative data. So qualitative data is exploratory, when we want to know the why of a phenomenon. And we can gather this by observing or doing interviews or focus groups, or by asking kind of open-ended questions in a survey. For instance, if I asked you to tell me about your experiences at fast food restaurants. Qualitative data, on the other hand, seeks to know quantities and confirm or not confirm a hypothesis. So this is the type of data that you're gathering when you ask questions that are measured with numbers or frequencies. So instead of tell me about your experiences with fast food, if I asked how many times a month do you stop for fast food? Once you've collected your results or exported them from another source, Microsoft Excel is the most common way to store or export data. Excel is included in your Office 365 package that comes with your web. And within Excel, you can create simple charts and graphs that can help you see patterns in your data and make sense of it. If you're feeling ambitious, Adobe Illustrator would also allow you to upload data and get very creative with how you visualize this. And Canva is a free online option that's fun for creating simple infographics, and it might be a great way to illustrate some of those quick statistics. For more information on any of these tools or skills, we recommend Lynda, which is a tutorial collection available in Connections under the Student tab. So some are very short, and others allow you to develop in-depth knowledge of any part of this process, from collecting data to using Illustrator to build graphic design skills. Lynda isn't just for data. We've used it in the library to learn everything from leadership to photography to public speaking. One great feature of Lynda is that it provides you with files that you can use to follow along with the instructor if you're learning a technical skill like Excel, so that you retain the information rather than just watching a video. Now I'd like to show you Data Planet statistical datasets, which is available through the library website. It includes information from the U.S. Census and many other economic and social data sources. This allows you to compare data from two different sources fairly easily. To get started, let's go to the library homepage, library.webster.edu. We'll select Articles and Databases. Please note the Contact a Librarian button, which you can use to ask a librarian for help via phone, email, a visit to our Research Services desk, or our 24-hour chat. Then, from the drop-down menu, we will select Data Planet statistical datasets. You'll then be prompted to log in with your last name and 7-digit Webster ID. If you don't know this, you can see the link here for instructions on how to find it in your Connections account. Entering Data Planet for the first time can be overwhelming, but with a little browsing and practice, you'll be a pro in no time. You see on the left, I can browse topics that might provide me with the data I'm looking for. Just for demonstration purposes, I've created a graph by choosing Employment Statistics and then Women Employees on the left-hand menu. Then I can limit my results to date and sector of the labor force. I've chosen Government and then specified that I want information about the number of women employed by the U.S. Postal Service. Notice that you can change the type of graph that is generated in order to better suit the question that you want to ask or see different patterns in the data. You can also click Show Data and export the numbers into an Excel file to explore them further. By holding Control and clicking more than one selection, I can compare sets of data. In this instance, I'm comparing the number of women employed by the Postal Service with those employed by the Department of Defense. From this graph, we could ask questions about what has changed over time that would influence these numbers and differences between them. Have attitudes about what sort of work women should be doing influence this? Have wars or even the amount of mail that people send changed over time? This is an example of a time when looking at these numbers in a spreadsheet might not tell us the same story as that we see here. There might be patterns that we could miss if we have not visualized that data, and we can see these patterns by looking more closely using a graph. Another great source of data that's freely available online is American Fact Finder. This includes information from the U.S. Census and smaller surveys that the government conducts between collections of the census. This can be tremendously useful for finding demographic information on a specific area or social trends. You can search within data sets if you know what you'd like to find, or browse using the advanced search. Here, I'm looking at computer availability. It's a little difficult to read on the screen, but of course you can download the data into an Excel file to see it better. Here I've limited my data to the city of St. Louis and can see the details about the digital devices that different households have access to, the type of internet that they subscribe to, and compare that with the economic information about these households. This would be helpful for tracking social trends or even deciding how or what to market to the people living in a certain area. There are too many sources of data available on the internet to even cover just our favorites. But keep in mind that data out there will likely be out there for your field of study or profession. One general source that collects a lot of information on social and political trends is the Pew Center. They provide their data for free, although you do have to have an account to download it. But they also have a lot of quick statistics and fact sheets on various topics that are likely to be in the news. They get their data from public opinion polls and have stated that they seek to be politically neutral. Just a few of the places that you might continue to look for data sets are the government agencies that are doing research, as we discussed with the National Institutes of Health as an example. Large international organizations like the UN will also make this information available, and often professors and scholars at universities will share their data in a number of places, including Mendeley, which is a tool freely available on the web or with special perks for Webster students if you go through the library website to create an account. It has a lot of special features that help you keep your research organized, but it does include a tool that allows you to browse the data sets that other researchers have collected and made available because they might be useful to other researchers. You might even consider doing the same with the data that you've collected. Of course, it's always important to remember to cite your sources, including with your data. Tools like Data Planet will include these citations within their data. There's often a citation generator, as will sites like the Pew Center or American Fact Finder. But just remember to check your style guide. We recommend using Purdue OWL or Online Writing Lab because it includes examples of citations for sources that you might not use every day, such as a data set. And here you can see we have an example of a data set cited in APA style. Thank you for joining us today, and happy searching!